I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Go for it, Steve. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Boom! Good morning, CSL Simi Valley. Welcome to another service. The skies have cleared. Was it foggy here in Simi this morning? Yesterday morning? I mean, because yesterday, see? That's because Simi's so far front everything. LA didn't get theirs until this morning. We're a day behind. Okay, so what's happening today? Well, we've got some birthdays. That's nice. Yeah. Dale Aarons has a birthday today. So you can wish him a happy birthday.
And Colleen Duncan.
And Colleen, I know Colleen's got a birthday, but Colleen's got a birthday today. They watch on Facebook, unless they're in here. Are they in here? No, they didn't show up. Okay, yeah, they're watching on Facebook. They might be in birthday hangover space. That's possible. And let's see what else is happening. Oh, people that do wonderful things for our service is happening today. That's a nice deal. And let me see. Do I see John here? John McLaughlin?
I don't see him yet unless he's back with his daughter.
Oh, do we know if she's here today? Maybe we should. Okay, we're going to take a look. In the meantime, talk amongst yourselves. How was your weekend? How's life? Yeah. We've had all kinds of great things happen. We're going to get an update on our Adopt a Family program, which is awesomely successful. We'll find some other ways that we can be of service to the community. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I'm going to do a talk about trust and faith. Just vamping until Dee comes back and gives me the sign. Well, you know, they're not here yet, but time marches on, and we will acknowledge them again when they get here, because what I'm talking about is the Volunteer of the Month.
Yay.
I think this might be our youngest Volunteer of the Month ever. Yes, because we're giving it to Emily for support, for showing up for us and to be our spokesperson at this year's CVIA Thanksgiving. That's Conejo Valley Interfaith Association's Thanksgiving. But she was also Dr. Susan's co-host for many of the Play and Learn episodes that took place during our locked down when we were not here in the sanctuary. So we're really grateful to Emily. If you've watched her, have you noticed how she's blossomed? Remember she would come up here in the beginning and it was always Susan would say it and she would say it. Now she's like, give me the mic, you know? I'm ready to go. And that's why we gave her the mic for that event. As I said, we've got an update coming on the Adopt a Family program. We're also going to talk about another way you can be of service in our community. It's just a little simple thing you can do that will be really good perhaps for another young person. So that'll come a little bit later in the service. But now let's talk about why we do all that we do and what motivates the Center for Spiritual Living, which is our vision and our mission statement. And here it is for you right now. We're a community, inclusive, loving, and authentic. We celebrate all paths to God in gratitude, empowering self and others. We serve compassionately through outreach, inspiration, and education. That's who we are. That's why we're here, and here's what we do. Thank you, darling.
So what we do is we express gratitude because just 3 weeks ago we started an Adopt a Family program and to support Harbor House and to support our own community. And we raised $7,650 in 3 weeks. And you're clapping for yourselves. Because you did it, and it's really amazing. And so we're supporting 40 families with Harbor House. So family, we said, is like $50 grocery card, and then 3 kids, and each kid gets a $25 Target card. And we're supporting 7 families within our own Center for Spiritual Living Simi Valley community. It's fantastic. So thank you so much. And with that, when something so beautiful happens, we don't only pray when we need something, we also pray when we give thanks. Okay? So let's take a deep breath. And with this, I recognize that there's only one divine presence, one divine consciousness that expresses as all that there is. It is pure love. It is well-being. It's all-knowing, it's all-powerful, it's everywhere present in all its fullness. So it's expressing, as every person here in the sanctuary and every person watching the service online, as people just driving by and getting the vibes. And it's expressing as the giving nature of this community. So I give thanks. I give thanks for this giving that is expressed so beautifully in supporting Harbor House and supporting our immediate community right here. So my heart is overflowing with gratitude, with love, with light. And in that space of gratitude, I know that this service this morning is blessed. And it makes the light in our hearts shine even brighter. So I let it be, and so it is.
So it is. How can I serve today, sweet spirit? How can I serve today, oh Lord? Speak in ways that I will understand. Where you lead me, I will follow. Where you lead me, I will go. Who needs my love today, sweet spirit? Who needs my love today?
So at a portion in our service where we do affirmation and reading, so affirming the truth of our being is really powerful. So I'll read our affirmation this morning and also realize that the affirmation we're given also links to the talks Reverend Stephen will be giving. So the affirmation is, as day gives way to night, I surrender to the divine light within, and it illumines my way. So let's say it together. As day gives way to night, I surrender to the divine light within, and it illumines my way. The reading this morning is from the Science of Mind magazine, the December issue. And the part I'm reading is written by our spiritual leader for Centers for Spiritual Living, not Simi Valley, just in general, Centers for Spiritual Living, Dr. Edward Viljoen. And he writes, our inheritance is perfection. He says, in my childhood, when I behaved poorly, my parents disagreed as to where I picked up my bad habits. My mother would say I inherited them from my father's side of the family, and my father would say I inherited them from my mother's side. In fact, both endowed me with many fine qualities. Even though my mother was a role model of generosity and my father was a role model of loving kindness, I did not always live those qualities. But when I wasn't behaving as expected, the family still welcomed me and taught me how to rejoin the household. Our spiritual selves are created by an all-powerful creative mind that illuminates all of creation. Our inheritance is perfection. Despite not always being excellent representatives of that legacy, we are still accepted. The spiritual journey is about discovering the potential of our inherently perfect nature and expressing it. But we stumble and fall on this journey of becoming our true selves because some of the experiences along the path are deeply challenging. If we don't acknowledge them for what they are and integrate them, they can follow us like shadows. These shadows are the parts of ourselves we disown, both personally and collectively. They are the parts we may feel ashamed of or the parts we were taught to hide from others. Despite our shortcomings, the divine accepts us and welcomes us no matter how far we may have strayed from our true nature. Whether you celebrate in a brightly lit garden, at the dark of midnight on the eve of winter solstice, at a Hanukkah, Christmas, or Kwanzaa festivity, or somewhere else, take a moment in this holy season to pause and appreciate your journey. Imagine a light in and around you that you did not create, but that shines as a permanent reminder of what lives in you, divinity.
I guess that's me. You got me today. All right. Mama, take this badge off of me. I can't use it anymore. It's getting dark, too dark to see. I feel I'm knocking on heaven's door. I'm knocking, knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. gonna put these guns into the ground now. I can't shoot them anymore. That long black cloud is coming down, and I feel I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, 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 knocking on heaven's door. Steve Fowler. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Feel like I'm knocking. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. 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 Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
It's time for meditation, and when we meditate, we connect with that light that is within us and that is outside of us and that we did not create, the divinity. So there will be a 3-minute meditation. Easy way to meditate is just to follow your breath. Feel it go in through your nostrils, feel it coming out. Just calms the mind. And then at the end of meditation, our director of music, Cherie Deeds, will have a beautiful prayer. So we ask you to just keep your eyes closed and just keep your heart open and just let the prayer in. Okay? Let's meditate.
This day I awoke with a passion in my heart, a feeling of longing, a thirst so strong. I want to be better, an opening for God. Make me stronger. My prayer today is for courage to be what the Holy Spirit intends for me. I want to be better, an opening for God. Make me stronger. Make me patient when I worry. Make me calm when there is strife. Make me loving when my heart is hard. Make me forgiving when I would be right. Make me forgiving. My prayer today is for courage to be what the Holy Spirit intends for me. I want to be better, an opening for God. Make me stronger. Stronger to reveal more peace. I must be patient to reveal more love. I must be humble to reveal more power. Make me stronger to more peace, more joy, more love, more joy. I want to be better, an opening for God. Make me stronger. This is my prayer today. Oh, God.
Cherie, that was beautiful. Wow.
Byers Beckwith song.
Yeah, Ricky, you know, I think she wrote songs thinking of you because your voice can capture Ricky songs.
I'm the white Ricky.
Yeah. You need a brown-eyed Ricky. Wow. And that song you sang, too, really takes to do that, to make me stronger, to be that opening for God. We must trust. We must have faith. We must trust and we must have faith. Great segue. Great pickup. Lovely. And thank you for guiding us into that meditation and the reading today. It was about perfect. It was wonderful. You know, this thing about faith and trust, there's a couple of sides to faith and trust, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that and break this up. You notice it's got some dashes in it, and if you've been around a while, you know that I've got some acronyms for both of those words, and that's what we're going to go with. But the trust part, what came to me when I was thinking about trust is we trust in ourselves. We're told in our spiritual teaching to trust in ourselves, but also in our culture, there's this rugged individualism that came with the American spirit. Lift yourself up by your bootstraps. And that is myth, not in the Joseph Campbell myth, but that's myth in the modern idea of myth as it being an untruth. You know, because in reality, nobody lifts themselves up by their own bootstraps. They probably didn't make their own bootstraps. Therefore, they're already being supported by somebody just to lift yourself by your bootstraps. So it doesn't work, you know. But we believe in that. And we have faith in our abilities. And we should have faith in our abilities. You know, when Cherie gets in front of the microphone, she has faith she's going to be able to belt that song out. And we have faith that it's going to come that way. And we trust that it will do that. So those are kind of the I don't want to say the human side of trust because it's all spiritual. But that is the side that we get to experience in ourselves. And that we frequently, in a secular way, define this idea of trust. We trust in science. We trust in the laws of science. We trust in the science of mind, but we also trust in the science of man a lot. Now, some people question that these days. We have a lot of people that are saying, I don't trust science. Well, you know, maybe you might, shortness of breath, you might want to think about trusting some science, right? And we certainly do trust our technology. It's taken me a while, but I've finally gotten to the place where I do trust my autopilot on my car, and it does actually steer in the lanes. It freaks me out, but it does that. Technology is amazing. Autocorrect I do not trust. Autocorrect is totally tied into Freud. Autocorrect and Freud have a direct relationship because it does not work. And you know, I was just thinking about trust. We trust in our sheer grit. We trust in our ability to just grind it out and to get it done. I was reading Wayne Muller, who has a book about enoughness. It's got a long title, but it's basically about being enough. And in it he says, in a common trance of our imagined indispensability, we can grow to believe that the fate of the galaxy rests ultimately and always on our shoulders. And you can see a lot of people, when you talk to them, they're like, how you doing? Oh, man. You know, and then they start the long tail where you're thinking, God, why did I even ask? You know, because they're carrying the weight of the world. They think they're Atlas or something, you know. But then there's this other trust that we come here to talk about, to remind ourselves about. There's this other faith that we come here to practice on a regular basis that we get to take out into the world and share with others. And the trust that I'm talking about, and it took me a minute to get this one, it's the reliance upon spirit totally. When you trust, when you really give yourself over to the divine, the reliance, you rely upon spirit totally, having that complete embodiment. And when you can do that and trust in that way, it augments and activates your faith. And faith is finding answers in the heart. So when we turn ourselves over to spirit totally, it's all yours. Totally, babe. It's all yours, right? And then we look for answers. We find those answers not always in our head, but also in our heart. And we've talked about that. We've talked a lot about heart science. And there is science that says that there are gray matter cells in your heart, just as there are gray matter cells in your brain. Your heart is a thinking organ as much as your brain is a thinking organ. And if you don't believe it, I mean, remember Fred Sanford, Edith, I'm coming for you, because he felt it in his heart. His heart was thinking, you know. When we look out to nature, we can see this trust and this faith activated in nature always. The song of the bird, the dew dropping. And friend of mine was talking about meditating this week, and when he meditates in the silence on his walks in the morning, he can get to a place where he can hear the dew drops falling from the leaves. Think of that level of connecting to the divine. That's a sweet faith right there. The tides, the sun rising and the sun setting. There are all these ways that we see nature exploring this idea of trust. And we, as a result of that, I think we begin to seek. We seek that same kind of assurance. And as seekers seeking, sometimes that seeking leads us to a belief that we don't have enough, that we're not connected enough, that we don't know enough, that we can't find it enough. But the truth is, we always have enough. There's always enough. I think one of the most amazing stories that is celebrated about enough and faith and trust is the stories of the Hebrew people taking back the Holy Temple, the second time of the second Holy Temple in Jerusalem. This is the night of Hanukkah, so it's the sixth night. Seventh day, eighth night coming. Wow. It's a wonderful, that's a great story. Well, Mark comes up here to prepare for us, our own cantor Mark, to sing our Hanukkah service, and Dina's going to come and light the Hanukkah candles. I'll just briefly, You know the story, right? So the Hebrews had a rough go of it, you know. First they have this army that they were in Egypt, right? And this army comes over and they takes over Egypt, and now they find themselves in a space where it's not, this new leadership is kind of okay with the Jewish people celebrating their religion. And they're okay with their coming to the temple and doing the things that they could do. But then his son dies, and the son's like, we're not having this anymore. So he outlaws all of the celebrations in the temple. Not only that, he brings in a Greek god, Zeus, and puts it into the temple and says, hey, let's slaughter some lambs on that. The Jews are like, oh my God, no, not that. Then he outlaws them having anything to go, any kind of services whatsoever. And finally, they're just fed up with it when this one small town rabbi, they tell him, you know what, we're coming and taking your temple too. And he goes, oh, enough of that. And he and his people in this little small town, they kick butt. And the Syrian Greeks are running for their lives. And they chase them all the way back to Jerusalem, where they finally beat them there. They're so freaked out they got beat by these little guys. They're like, we got this big army. We're outnumbered. We outmanned them. And they won. And so now they're cleaning up the temple after it had been desecrated. And they decide, hey, look at here. We found a little vial of oil that's been sealed by this rabbi. Let's open this oil. Oh, there's only enough for 1 day of candles. That's okay. We'll light it anyway. They light it, and then what happens?
It burned.
For how many?
8 days.
8 days!
And that's the weather report. Best rendition I have ever heard in my life of the Hanukkah story, and Reader's Digest, too.
Did you like that? Did I get, how am I, yeah?
I'm stunned.
Thank you. I learned it all from you.
Hardly.
So would you
I would.
help us celebrate the rest
I
of
would.
this?
Thank you
And
so
Dina,
much.
you're going to light the candles while he sings? All right, I'm going to go over here and enjoy it. Call me back when you're done.
It shall be done.
Okay.
So, as we pointed out a moment before, it is the 7th day of Hanukkah. Tonight is the 8th night, and then tomorrow is the 8th day. It's a little mixed up, but you'll get the hang of it. So we're going to light all 8 candles. And there's a new tradition that each candle has a spiritual quality. And so for the last few nights, the 6th candle, for example, was diversity. And the 7th candle, forgiveness. And how appropriate that the 8th candle is gratitude. And Dina and I are so grateful to be back here physically after an extended absence and not being just voyeurs on Zoom watching all this. Let me tell you what the difference is. We want to thank this community, which has been tireless and unwavering in its support of us, and especially the Sacred Sisters, and very especially Kathy Hartman, who have just given so much to make sure that we get through this. And my holy brother, Reverend Stephen. This community has trusted you to keep the light on for almost 21 months now, during darkness and isolation and confusion. And baby, your oil has been burning brightly, not just for 8 days, but 21 months. We are forever grateful. Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to these ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to these ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavodeinu b'yamim hahem b'zman hazeh. And normally we don't sing the Shechianu except for the first two nights, but because it's the first time in a long time we've been back, I think we're going to say the Shechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
Quite easy, you're going down.
That's all right. We'll take it easy. You're welcome. Thank you, Mark. Beautiful, beautiful. That is a pretty incredible story of trust and faith. And it's been celebrated that all of these victories of the Hebrews and all of the things that happened were celebrated as miracles. And I get that, but those miracles are as a result of the power of trust and faith being applied to daily life. When we apply these principles to our lives, those are things that can happen. In a book called Darkening the Light by Llewellyn Vaughan Lee, he writes, "We just need to recognize the simple wonder of being alive, of being a part of life, and say an unconditional yes to be fully present to this moment of transition. Through this yes, we open ourselves to what life needs." See, the Jewish people said yes to the battles that were called to them. They said yes to their God. They said yes to their belief. They said yes to being fully present in the moment. And it says this moment of transition, and you'd be thinking, transition, think of the now moment. It's everything exists in the now moment, absolutely, right? Everything right here, boom, right now. It's all now. But it's just a fleeting moment. So the now moment is also a moment of transition. So when we say yes to the full awareness, when we say, yes, I trust what's happening right now, even though it may look hard. I have faith in what's happening right now, even though it feels difficult. When we say yes to that, we open ourselves to what life needs. Life needs to fulfill its destiny, which is for the expansion of itself, for the continuation of itself, for the good to flow into itself. And we are itself. We are life. So when we say yes to the moment, we're saying yes to allowing that to come through. And in the new thought, faith, and philosophy, this yes that we talk about, this yes that we commit ourselves to, this yes we have faith in, is a yes that opens us up to have the eyes to see, to vision, the eyes to see within, right? And there's something that responds to us when we say that yes. And in our new thought philosophy, we think that something is the intelligence of the universe. It is the mind of God that resides within us, speaking through us for the expansion of that yes. That's what we get to do. Dr. Holmes has this lovely phrase he talks about. He says that the God that is believed in, that God is infinite, and the God that is believed is the God that is. And if your God's not working for you, then he says we need to believe in a bigger God. He said it's our belief. Our belief expands our God, and our belief also limits our God. Think of what would have happened if that one rabbi had said, okay, sure, you can slaughter a goat on my temple. We would not have had this holiday. We would not have had this understanding. We would not have had this story to guide us to moving into our expansion of who we are, what we are. We wouldn't have our ability to say yes. If you had stopped, if Gary had stopped with what the first doctors had said about his son wouldn't be on the verge of becoming a freaking millionaire. This kid's working with 22-year-old millionaires now, editing videos together for them. And like 2 or 3 years ago, we were praying every day, treating for the right result to come. And boom, it did. If a yes hadn't been said to the faith and the trust in what can be, we wouldn't have Dominic up here doing the slides every week. This is a man whose doctors had given up, but his mother never did. His mother never did. So he writes movies. He wins awards. This kid traveled to Europe, to London, to display his films.
Well, in Finland.
Finland! Never let a fact get wrong in front of this man. He's got it all down. And if you want to know any episode of 91210, ask him anything about Star Wars, ask him anything about Star Trek, ask him. He's got the answer. He knows how to say yes. I could do this for everybody in this room. I've seen all of you say yes to the trust and the faith that comes from practicing this. We understand this power. We understand the role of trust and faith in our lives. And sometimes that trust and faith means that we must surrender. And surrender gets such a bad name. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender is giving in. And when we give in to the divine. We give in to the wisdom that's within us. The giving in is to give in to the winning side. And nothing wins bigger than the better God that you think of and believe in, that you stretch yourself to fully fulfill in your experience. Now, all this that we do, and this that I'm talking about, and these situations that I talk about, the reality is there, right? The reality of what's there is happening. But when we say our yes to trust, when we give in and surrender to that, we change our relationship to the reality. And when we can change our relationship to it, then these openings can take place. I was talking to my dad this week, and he had just finished his treatments and was coming out from the doctor. And there was a gentleman there that was, Steelers jacket, big football type guy, huge fella, sitting on the curb, just crying his eyes out. My dad walked over to him. He says, so what's going on? This doctor just told me I've got prostate cancer. I'm going to die. I think my dad kind of freaked the guy out because he looked at me and says, we're all going to die. Newsflash, spoiler alert. And he goes, but I'm going to die of this. He says, you don't know. You don't know? How about you have a little faith? Look at you, dude. You're wearing a Steelers jacket. You're strong. You're tough. Fight this. And you don't know, what are you going to do? Do something today and live every day to your fullest. The guy looked at me and he says, yeah, I guess I'm not going to die today, am I? He says, I don't think so. He says, I think you're right. He said yes that moment. He trusted, and something to my dad, trusted that he could talk to that guy, and the two of them had a relationship just there in that moment to move through the transition of that moment, to step into it. See, we've always known that there's this ability to move beyond the slings and the arrows of misfortune by applying these concepts to our lives. Stuff's going to happen. We know it. That's why they got these posters everywhere that says, shift happens. But when we can trust, when we can put ourselves into the total reliance upon Spirit, and we have a conscious communion with the divine in that moment, when we move into faith, we use a dynamic spiritual power that activates our trust. See, as Ernest Holmes says, we've always known that prayer and faith lay hold of some invisible power. that has wrought wonders in people's lives, and we have called them miracles, but there are no miracles. He was believing in that. He really said, it's not a miracle, it's the emergence, the right emergence from a belief and a faith. You see, we think it's a miracle because we don't believe it could happen. But the person who experiences the miracle believed it could happen. It only looks like a miracle from the outside. From the inside, it just looks like, yeah, that's what I said. That's what and so it means. And so it is could just as easily be, yep, that's what I said. That's how this works, you see. But we think it's a miracle. It's not. It's not. So it's how it's supposed to work. And believing it, it's working that way. I'm so glad the front row is back. Oh, my God. Because, I mean, when I get on a tangent, who brings me back? The front row. You know, I need them.
Dave Robinson.
That's right. That's right. You got it, man. It's Dave Robinson does it. The thing to do is to take, what we're doing is, what we're talking about is taking the mist out of mysterious. We're taking the fog out of mysterious so we can see with clarity what we bring into our lives when we apply these ideas of trust. When we choose to be open, when we make a volitional choice, we say, that's how it's going to be. And then we go out to prove it to be that way. You know, Abraham Lincoln, what's that line he says? You're only as happy as you make up your mind to be? Do you realize how hard it was for him to live that? I mean, come on. His wife was chronically sick. He was depressed. His kids, he lost some of his kids died. He led the nation during the Civil War. That's just a little bit of a headache. And yet he decides that you're only as happy as you make up your mind to be. That's the same thing. We make up our minds. And trust and faith aid and support that decision to make up your mind about whatever it is you're making up your mind to be. If that make up your mind is, I can't do this, newsflash, you ain't doing it. But if you make up your mind, I can do this, this is the way it's going to be, headline, that's the way it's going to be. Right? But it takes the work. It takes the faith. It takes the trust. It takes trusting in that intelligent spirit and then finding the answers, having the eye of the heart, that thing that sees, to have this ear of the heart, this thing that listens. Your heart is such a compassionate listener. You know, we feel it right here. There was, when we do this answering, when we do this going in, when we surrender trust, faith, have it. Stuff shows up that you never would imagine. The answers are already out here waiting for us, waiting to be received and captured. That's also a part of what we believe, right? They're waiting to be received and to be captured, and sometimes we just don't notice. That story, the book I was talking about, Wayne Muller, in it he talks about, he's a spiritual helper. He goes around and helps other churches and centers kind of find their way. And a pastor called him and said, I'm having some trouble, a guy in New Mexico. And he says, well, let's go on a hike and talk about it. So we're out on this hike and they're talking about it. And they're walking through a ponderosa pine forest up in northern New Mexico. And while they're on the hike and the preacher's just talking and Wayne's thinking, he's trying to help him, but he's also wanting to be in the moment. And he looks over and he sees a sign that says, Ponderosa Pines, and talks about the history of the pines and all that stuff and how they got there. And then he says, and their bark smells like vanilla. So he goes over to sure enough, it smells like vanilla. He'd been walking through this Ponderosa Pine forest for years and never had noticed that. So that reality was already there. And then at about that time, a whole bunch of kids came running up behind them. They got running ahead of their parents or whatever. And they're running around and they've got stones. And they're running up to all the pines and they're scraping the bark. Oh, vanilla cookies. Oh, chocolate cookies. They're just dancing with this scent, that was always there. What Muller says, I love what he says. He says, it was not the trees that had changed, but my perception of them, an awareness of something I didn't know existed. This is what happens when we allow ourselves I was going to say luxury, but it's really not the luxury, when we have the willingness to trust. when we give ourselves the permission to have faith, then your perception changes. And something you didn't know existed suddenly shows up. The right doctor comes along. The right teacher comes along. The right opportunity comes along. The right spiritual center comes along. The right partner comes along. That's what happens when you move into that. Through faith and trust, we begin to know. We take the mist out of mysterious, but it takes daring, my friends. It takes a lot of daring. See, trust and faith reminds us that our nurturing support begins in a journey that is within. It takes a lot of spunk to thoroughly rely upon Spirit totally. It takes a lot of faith to look into your heart for answers, to find the answers in the heart. These are not easy things to do because the slings and arrows of life are sometimes so sharp and coming so fast that we don't know how to duck, and we get so beat up that we think we can't win. But there's something we can win with, and if you think you can't win, remember earlier, just believe in a bigger God. Expand your consciousness around what that is that you can pull into. See, once we begin to apply these principles that we're talking about today, once we begin to apply them, then whatever inspiration we're having, that inspiration leads into an action, leads into a movement, right? The contemplation of these concepts leads to an accomplishment of our life. And when we apply these applications, when we apply these concepts, our life enhances its level of performance, and we get into a better space. But it takes, like I said, it takes daring. It's not like I dare you. It's like I dare you to have the courage to do this, to have the boldness to do this, to venture into the challenge. Muller talks about that. He says, if we dare to taste, touch what is beautiful and alive right here and now, the sudden realization of our ridiculously abundant wealth. Ridiculously abundant wealth. I love those three words together. It's not just wealth. It's not just a lot of wealth. It's ridiculous a lot of wealth. It's like Jeff Bezos kind of wealth, you know? But we have spiritual wealth like that. I'm not talking about financial wealth. I'm talking about the wealth of possibility, the wealth of expansion, the wealth of I can do this. It will just flood your senses with sensual delights beyond imagining. That's what's waiting for each and every one of us when we just have the faith and the trust to apply these principles in our lives on a daily basis. And so it is. So here's your recipe. Here, let's do it together. As day gives way to night, I surrender to the divine light within, and it illumines my way. Yes. Let's surrender to that divine light right now and illumine the way into our truth and our expansion of everyday experiences. What's going on in your world today? What slings and arrows are flying at you? I heard a story of David and Goliath that might motivate a talk sometime in 2022. You know, it's so crazy being in my head sometimes. Everything I read becomes a potential talk. Spirituality is everywhere. Do you realize how rich every experience of our life? That's why I don't really like that we're having a human experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. No, we're spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. And sometimes it looks human, and sometimes it looks amazing, and sometimes it looks very crazy, like fairies. Who knows? It's a wonderful thing. And in prayer, we get to reveal to ourselves how wonderful this life is. As Johanna talked about a minute ago, sometimes the most wonderful prayer is the Meister Eckhart prayer. If thank you is the only thing you ever said, you have prayed enough. So if there's something you're grateful for, let's pray about that right now. But if there's a sling and an arrow that's come into your life, let's pull it out. Let's heal that wound. Whatever it is, bring that to your consciousness right now, and then flip to what you desire. What is it you desire in your life? Where do you want to put your faith and your trust? So knowing that you're holding that idea in mind right now, I align ourselves in the consciousness of the divine. I know there is this infinite spirit, this bigger, better idea of God that is right now forming in each of our minds. So whatever has come to us, be it gratitude or be it a challenge, a sling and an arrow, whatever it might be, we switch to the desired result and know that we have a power and a strength and an intelligence that informs us from within to know exactly what to do, when to do it, where to do it, and how to do it to bring about the resolution in kind. So I'm simply knowing right now that divine harmony is a part of this process, that right action and guidance is a part of this process, that perfect outcome is a part of this process, be it healing of the body, of the mind, or the financial pocketbook, or just the daily spirit. If you wake up glum, this is going to bring happiness and joy into your day. Whatever it is, there is a power within you that knows how to move beyond it, to transition into the next moment in a higher level of understanding, to do what Dr. Holmes talks about, that evolutionary spiral that is ever rising higher. We are part of that. Know that. Feel that. Believe that. Be that. And in deep gratitude for the being that we brought into each of our lives right now. I'm talking about the action of be, of being, that we bring into our lives right now. I am so grateful, and I release this gratitude and this prayer into the law of the mind of God that says, yes, I know what to do with this. I make it happen in your experience, here and now, and so it is. So this is where we get to do a little more of our gratitude for our personal center. I know we've done magnificent for the adoptive family, and we'll be doing some end-of-year reporting for you around how we're doing financially here within the center. And I'm going to go back for a minute. I want you to also do all of your perfect prayer work this week for our new landlords who have decided that they are going to fix our roof for us. How many years have we been talking about the roof? They're going to fix the roof. Now we just need to pray that they do it this week. Because next week it's supposed to rain. Right? Okay. But we're grateful for that. Even with their support, there are going to be some things that we're going to need to do in the next few months to permanently repair some things that we kind of let go to the side because we didn't know when it was going to leak again. So when we're going to put new tiles in and stuff like that, we wanted to make sure everything up there was fixed before we fix the stuff in the mid-range, right? Some of that's going to take some dollars and cents. It's just the reality of it. But we got a big God, and we're ridiculously abundantly wealthy. So let's celebrate that. Here's some ways you can do that through this affirmation, right here and now. Divine love, it's doing its perfect work here and now. Divine love harmonizes. Divine love adjusts. Divine love prospers. Divine love foresees everything and richly provides every good thing for CSL Simi Valley now. Divine love is victorious. And here's your announcements and a lovely song from Cherie to back that up, and ushers will be passing by.
so nice to connect with the two of you. Thank you. Because I connect with the giving that has taken place in the center and online. The giving from that space within our own hearts, that ridiculously abundant wealth that is always shining brightly, manifesting itself in dollars to support the center and therefore support our community. And for this, I'm grateful, and so it is.
Thank you. All right, come on up, Els. This last song I'll do for you today is off my Daughter of Love CD. And yes, this is for Dina. Because Dina says she plays my CD every day. Okay, guys, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Driving in the fast lane, push all that I can. Never look behind me to what'll hit the fan. Crushing opposition, is it me, is it them? It's their fault if I lose and my glory if I win. But the tank is running low and the tires are wearing thin. I've been looking everywhere except for looking I'll find the good or the bad, it'll show in time. A soulful future, not a wasted life, full of love, compassion, forgiveness, and life. No more running away, anything to survive. It's time to tell the fear it's my turn to drive on the road. Anything to survive. It's time to tell fear it's my turn to drive on the road. Let's travel. It's time for me to look deep down inside with an angel on my shoulder. On the road, let's travel on the road. Let's travel on the road. Let's travel. I will ride. Let's travel. I will fly, will fly, will fly. Let's travel high.
Cherie Deeds, Solo Purpose Band, taking us down the road with the L's. Love it. Thank you. Thanks so much. John, Randy, Steve, beautiful, lovely solo earlier. Thank you so much. Great backups today from the L's. Lots of support from our service team, which was Becky and Linda and Costa. There's Costa and Ron. And if you'd like to be a part of a service team, then just speak to any of those people and join. We still have a few gaps in the service team. Thanks so much, Dominic, for the slides. Love you, buddy. And Gregory's just getting so fancy with those wipes and dissolves and just upgraded system. It's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Karen, are you here today? There's Karen. All right, so any guests and visitors, Karen is available for after service to give you the visitor packet and tell you anything about what we do and how you can get involved in activities that are going on in the center. And a special super thanks go out to Reverend Johanna, Darlene, and Cheryl Robinson Collins, who led our Adopt a Family program. They received support from Linda and Kathy Burt that was doing the cash, and Dr. Susan, who helped put up the background. And did I leave anybody out? And Bridget, who kept up with all the numbers. Yes, got to remember them. So just give some love to all those folks that helped make the service a happening thing for us each week. And of course, there wouldn't be anything if it weren't for you guys. So here, I got a thing for you. Hands up. Bend at the elbow. Good job. Good job. Love it. All right, Cosmic Kids, come on out. And before you get started,
Oh, yes.
did you hear what happened at the top of the service, Miss Emily McLaughlin? Did anybody tell you? We have something every month that we do. It's called the Volunteer of the Month. Yeah. Got an idea where this might be going? You were the Volunteer of the Month for your awesome performances. Yes. Would you like to say a few words about that? We also, not just for what you did at Thanksgiving, but also for all the help you gave Dr. Susan during Play and Learn, which was really great, being the co-host for that. Going to say anything about being the Volunteer of the Month?
I just want to say that thank you.
We love it. Thank you. Thank you. So now I turn it over to you. What'd you guys do today?
All right. We had a good time. What we're going to share with you is kind of what we did. We have some words that we want to share with you. We want to give them to you as a gift for the holidays. And what our charge is for you is that if you can take these words and find ways in which to put them in your holiday. Okay? Today was all about how do you want your holiday to look.
All right.
All right? So Emily's going to read hers, and we're going to pass it around. And then this is Jazzy, and this is JJ. And they're going to read their words, and then Miss Emily has a story she has to tell. She isn't going to let me rest unless she tells the story. Okay? Go for it.
So my words are togetherness, wonder, spirit, and celebration.
Mm-hmm.
My words are reverence, joy, appreciation, and ease. Oh.
And for my words, I have flow, love, fun, and connection.
Nice.
And I have words too.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't have many. Okay, mine are aliveness, abundance, generosity. See how those go together?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Innocence. Maintain your innocence. And play. Don't forget to do that.
That's right.
All right. Miss Emily is going to give you 2 seconds, maybe 4, to tell your story. There you go.
So this is, I try to draw how fun, it would be on Christmas Eve, like my dream Christmas. So this is me and my mom. I have 2 dogs. This is Bowie and Buddy. I'm kind of like anxious that Buddy's gonna eat my turkey, and then Bowie is planning something.
Lovely.
That was how she decided. That's how she's spending her holidays. Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, fantastic. Watch out for Bowie. He might be planning to come to your house and eat your turkey. All right, let's all stand and do our closing benediction, and we'll sing. And it says, I'm at home in the heart of God. My life is anchored in truth. I can never be separate. I live in the consciousness of peace. I release all fear. I am living love.
I release, I let go, I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only for life. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only for life. I release, I let go, I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only for God.
Fantastic. See you next week. And don't forget, if you would like prayer, Reverend Johanna is under the exit sign. She's available for prayer for you now.
I don't remember what day it was, and I didn't notice what time it was. All I know is that I fell in love with you, and if all my dreams come true, I'll be spending time with you. Every day's a new day in love with you. With each day comes a new way of loving you. And every time I see your face, my mind starts to wander. All my dreams come true. I'll be spending time with you. Oh, I love you more today than yesterday, but not as much as tomorrow. I love you more today than yesterday, but only a bit much as tomorrow. Tomorrow's day means springtime's just a day away. And keep it, we don't need you now.